What we're doing here is we're going to be removing these two steps on this porch, and we're also going to be removing this step right here, and we're just going to have one cohesive step coming all the way around to here. This side we're leaving it how it is, but on this side, you know, it's going to be one cohesive step all the way through to the end of the house right here. So I'm going to start saw cutting, start demoing it out. Looks like I'm solo today. One of my guys' girlfriends got in a car accident or something like that, so we'll see if he shows up. But until then, let's get down to business, old school style.
Hi, David Odell here with Odell Complete Concrete. Today we're going to be doing a new step around an existing raised patio. So what he's going to be doing here to start with is making a saw cut at the bottom of that step, because that step is poured monolithic with the sidewalk and the raised patio, so it's all one piece. So he's got to break those two little steps off, and then he's going to do a new step just 1 foot out, 6 inches down, all the way around this patio. That way, wherever you walk off, you're going to land on something without falling a foot. So he made a saw cut at the top as well. Then he's using the Makita 70-pounder to loosen it up. There is some rebar in there, so it made it a little bit more difficult. Now on the face of that, it's going to be a little rustic right there until they hit it with the grinder and smooth it out. On the other side of this raised porch, there's another step that has to be removed. Here's the other side. That saw cut's going to end up going all the way to the end of the house, so that whole piece gets removed there at the bottom. You could pour the step on top of the old concrete, the lower level, but if you did that to remove the old concrete down below, you'd have to remove the step with it. This way each piece is kind of independent. So if you ever did something in the future, you could do it without removing, you know, everything. They're just going to machine mix this on site. They're going to use a 4,500 PSI bag mix from Lowe's. Now they're drilling and driving 3/8 bars. So it's a nice tight fit. No epoxy needed. Then they're going to do a little turn down on those bars, on those dowels coming out. And they're going to hang one bar all the way around horizontally, tied to those dowels. A 2x8 around the perimeter, that way you're going down below grade a little bit. Even though you're going to only have like 5 to 6 inches exposed, you'll still have a couple more inches below grade. That's nice and clean. And that's always nice, because otherwise you can't really run your edge or grow your lawn up against there, or whatever you want to do in the future. There's that 4,500. It's not the greatest kind of, it's a 4,500, so it's strong, but it's not designed to be finished very easily, because it's really gritty, not real creamy. Because what they do with these bag mixes, in order to call it a 4,500, what they do is they just put a lot of rock in there. Not a whole lot of sand, just a lot of rock, and that's about it. And that's how you get the high PSIs, with a lot of rock. Because rock is the hardest part of the whole mixture. So you just eliminate some sand, put a lot of rock in there, you can get those high numbers very inexpensively. Personally, what I like to do is spend a little more money on some cement, put it in there with some nice fines, sand, and make my own. But You know, in a deal like this, you're just doing a step around the perimeter. This works out fine. It just means you're gonna have to work harder to get your finish. You could doctor up your load as you're mixing it. Throw a shovel full of cement for every 3 bags, and maybe a little bit of number 60 silica in there. Something like that might help. This is a couple hours later after the mix and the form's starting to come off. Run the hand float first on the face to try to bring up a little cream, which is very hard to do with this particular mix, but you can do it. Cutting joints in this particular mix is very hard as well because it's a lot of angular rock and there's a bunch of it. So when you start trying to join it, especially the face that hasn't been jointed before the stripping, it's pretty hard at that point. So when you're trying to get that in there with this type of mix, those rocks are just popping out of there.
All right, what's going on, guys? We're back at the project. We finished pouring it all out. Today, what we're focusing on is these little patches we got to do. We got one right here and we got one on the other corner. But what we're going to be using to patch this up is some Quikrete vinyl concrete patcher. But before we can start mixing this up, as you can see, I already brushed this as good as I could, and then I hit it with the hose just to make sure it's real nice and clean before applying the material. And before we apply the concrete patch, we got to make sure to apply the concrete adhesive, which is right here. So we're gonna rub some concrete bonding agent right on this, and then I can go ahead and mix up my concrete patch and apply the patch. We're gonna do the same process over there on that corner, same deal. But yeah, stairs turned out pretty nice, or the stair, and got a joint down the middle following that joint on the patio, and yeah, it wraps all the way around to over here.
So this is how you save a chunk of concrete in front of your house that you know has been modified. Initially, this probably had a patio cover. It had a little railing around it. It had just a couple access points, very narrow ones. Now we've opened it up, got rid of the cover, put a step all the way around. Now it's just feels more comfortable to use. That's the old metal post. You got to get all that metal out of there, because as it continues to rust, it expands and it keeps damaging the concrete. Another thing you can do with these patches when you start getting kind of thick with them, probably over an inch, inch and a half thick, you could actually add some clean rocks, some clean 3/8 minus to your patch mix, and then that's going to help you to avoid some shrinkage cracking. So there's the finished product. Once this cures out and ages for a little while, it'll start to blend in. You can see the grinding on that where the old step was. Turned out pretty good. You could always put a bare deck over paint over this, cover everything, and make it perfectly uniform.